This week on the Park It On podcast, we had a trial match against Westlakes, and of course, a bit of Schuey's wisdom. It's time to Park It On! Welcome back to the Park It On podcast. We are elbow deep into trial season, and we've got some steaming hot match reports for your wonderful little ears. My name's Riley. I'm supposed to be a Div 5 bowler. Draws of Pants come out soon, and we'll be able to preview the whole shebang for you when it does. But until then, we've got a bit of reporting to do. And joining me to do exactly that is the genuine, the real, the authentic, the one and only Mr. Jimmy.
G'day. So we're waiting on some draws. I've been talking around the club. Nobody really knows what's going on at the moment with Bowls SA and the
Metro Bowls Association.
The Metro Bowls Association. Yep, that's the one. But yeah, we're hoping that it comes out not long after this episode goes out, which will be tomorrow, which is Thursday, the 25th. But yeah, it's looking good. I think it's shaping up to be a big year. I think the club's in a good spot talent-wise.
We have a lot of new blood coming into the club. A lot of people who are trialing at really good levels. You know, there's a few fellas that are brand new to the club that are trialing out at, you know, the Prem Div 2 level, which is excellent to see. Our mate Ethan is one of them. Carrying on, we got a fella from Brighton who's moved straight up into the Prem team. There's a lot of opportunity out there at the old Grange Bowls Club, and you know, with opportunity comes talent, and with talent comes success. So here's hoping we have a pretty successful season coming up.
Absolutely.
Metro Bowls Association I have a lot of respect for. It's a very difficult job to make a fixture for so many teams and so many different divisions, and everyone's always going to have a problem with whatever you're doing. I would like to know where the games are so I can plan my life, please. That would be fantastic. Yeah, annoyingly, a charity thing that we do in October is going to coincide with the first week of the season, which is a bit shit, but it is what it is. We take those licks and we move right along. Jim, I was genuinely tempted to head over Thursday, Friday, do my bit on the Friday night, fly home, play bowls, fly back, drive home the Monday.
It would be very funny.
It would be very funny. Fiscally, horrendously irresponsible.
Yeah.
But, oh boy, would it be fun.
Like, the only other option I can foresee is, because my responsibilities are on the Friday night as well, the idea of essentially like hopping in a car, driving back overnight, playing bowls and then driving back, but we would pass away.
Yeah, I think we would be actually deceased. Yeah, like the only reason the other one I was looking into was because I'm not doing the transport part, at least.
Yeah.
So I just get on a plane, harass the old man to come pick me up. He'll have a grumble, but he'll do it. And getting home, but nah. It's a bit much of a muchness, unfortunately. Unless the Grange Bowling Club wants to change their position on playing for players and sorts us out with a couple of cheapo flights, alas.
Well, you're in a good spot with your trialing.
Oh, look, my trialing's been alright, but I don't think I'm necessarily a required player. You know, I'd have to have a chat with the team manager and the selection committee about that, because, you know, the way I see it is, yes, I'm playing up and around that level, but I'm like last in, first out is how I see it, right? You know, I foresee that I've moved up a division in my playing ability, and it means that I'm probably now moving to play that tail end of the draw in Div 5 or the top end of the draw in the higher grades.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, very interesting. You know, the first draw of the trials, I was playing 3 in our Div 2 team, which I was a bit interested at how that came about, because, you know, it's always hard to get the experience in those tail end roles without, you know, also being able to play at your level. It's very, very tricky and scary. But, you know, it is what it is. I had a good run of it. You know, we'll get into the bowls trials match reports very, very soon. But yeah, there's a lot going on around the club. There's a very healthy volunteer base that I've seen getting put together. Everyone seems to be really excited about moving forward as a club altogether, which I haven't. It's not that I haven't seen it, but it's always been the same like 3-4 people the last couple of years. So to see new people come out of the woodwork and go, actually, you know what, I am going to put my hand up and do stuff around the club. That's what community clubs are all about. It's all that unpaid work that, gets you a thank you on Prezzo night and basically nothing else. As you've seen the sign at the bar at the bowler gym. Doing a good job here is like wetting your pants in a dark suit. You get a warm feeling, but no one else notices.
Yeah. It's one of those things where I think, especially always before a season, I think everyone gets very excited and very, ready to go. So I'm interested to see how we go throughout the season. But the vibes are high. That's, I can't say anything against that. I think the vibes are very high, and I'm really enjoying the feeling around the club. I've really been enjoying the trials and talking to people and having sort of a preview into people's feelings towards the season and ideas going into the season as well. Like, there's a lot of people stepping up and a lot of people changing their roles, like especially with like the Night Owls. Obviously with Dicko leaving, like other people are stepping up and other things are changing. It's very cool.
Yeah, it's pretty special, seeing how everyone's come together now and doing cool stuff. It's very, very, very cool. I think the vibes around the Grange Bowls Club have been the highest that I've known them, and I've been playing there for 2021 into 22 and onwards.
Yeah.
Yep, I reckon 2021 and 2020. Yeah, I've been playing there for like 4 years now, and the vibes are as high as I've ever known them. And I've been around for a Premier fucking flag win. Now, granted, I was playing in the Div 5 team at the time. I was not playing anywhere near that level. But, I've been around the club when the times have been good and the wins have been coming. And in those intervening years, the vibes have gone down a little bit. There's a lot of uncertainty around the club. It's an open secret in South Australian lawn bowls that, foundations aren't as solid as they potentially could be. But I think the vibes are high. I think there's people who are interested and committed to making things work. And here's hoping that it comes with a little bit of silverware, Jim. That's what we're looking for.
Here's hoping.
Yes. But, Jim, we have played some pre-season bowls trials. Now, I missed 1 week to go working, and you still played. Did you want to have a chat about that one?
Yeah, so it was the second week of the internal trials. The numbers were a bit funky. They had all of the numbers done out and all the cards made, and then they realized that someone who said that was going to be there wasn't there. And so I ended up actually playing a game of pairs and then a game of triples due to the numbers. And it was a bit of a slog, albeit it was better than the week before. I think I am working a lot more on sort of the mental capacity to sort of pull myself out of a sort of slump mentality where, I might have two to three ends of some pretty average bowling and I sort of get down on myself. I'm starting to rein that in. Ended up playing with the selector who essentially organised the whole thing in both games. And then afterwards you had to have a really nice chat to him. So I think this match report is going to be a lot less about the actual bowls because they're pretty average. But I had a really good chat with Jeff after all was said and done. And we essentially said that one of my big limiting factors at the moment is consistency. I might put one down that's really good and then the next one will be sort of 2 meters behind or a meter in front or offline. And then vice versa. Like I there's a lot of times where I'll put down a pretty wayward one and then the next one will be way closer. And it's just one of those things that needs to come with a lot of practice and a lot of, I guess, coaching or just chatting with people about what I'm doing. A big thing he told me was if you go down the coaching path, choose your coach and only listen to them. And that's a big thing that I also need to work on because like golf, like any sport really, everyone has their idea of how things are going to be done, but they don't know how they're going to get done in your body, in your situation. So if you can work with one person and nail down those fundamentals just with one person, it's probably going to be better in the long run. But yeah, overall, it was a very positive mindset coming out of the second week of internal trials.
Yeah, sick, dude. That's a really awesome mindset to hear from you coming through. Bowls is a really tricky sport at the best of times. Not because it's physically can take it out of you, but mentally I find is the worst part of it all. Especially since, in pennants or like in 2s and 3s, you have a little bit quicker, like bang, bang, bang sort of bowling. But in pennants, when there's 8 people bowling each end, especially if you're playing at the top of the order, you sit around and you watch for a long time about, people doing stuff different to you, playing harder shots than you, and just, especially for me now, potentially playing above where my level may potentially be. I'm watching these people who are a whole level and a half above what I'm at, that I'm just sort of going like, fuck, man, like, this is taking it out of me a little bit, like, watching people play these through shots and just fucking parking these suckers on. And I'm like, I'm happy if I park one on every other end.
Yeah.
And in this sort of level, these guys are just fucking going, yep, resting toucher, hit the jack, resting toucher, over and over and over again. It's exhausting. But that ability to like compartmentalize and go like, no, this is my coach, this is my game plan, this is my body, this is how I do it, and just sticking to that is fucking awesome advice. And I'm really, really glad that you got given that and you've been able to share that today. That's so cool.
Especially like what you were just saying, like seeing the idea of people that are playing a lot better than you. Like, it was another thing that came out of it that helped me going into the first external trial, was the idea that, and this sort of harks back to our last episode. I think it was the last episode where we were talking about roles. And I played in 2 in the external trial instead of lead, but I was given the advice that it essentially goes for both, where yes, it's your job to get it like as close as you can, but and it also harks back again to the bowler's development, because a lot of the drills we were doing where it's rather than aiming for the jack, it's aiming for that sort of area, sort of half a meter behind it, in sort of a sense. The idea that as a 1 and a 2, you've just got to be like near, because there are these better people for like better than what you are in 3 and 4 that just need your bowls there so that they can do cool shit. So it doesn't hugely matter as a 1 or a 2 that we've walked up the other end and my bowl isn't shot or it isn't on the jack, because as long as it's there, stuff can happen.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like the top levels of bowls are such a different mind game. We'll get into this when we talk about the trial match that I played, but the difference between Div 5 and those higher divs, where in Div 5, you park one sort of nearby, everyone's like, hell yeah, dude, that's awesome. It's like at these high levels where they're playing the shots that the opposition wants to play, so that they can't like do it to you. It does my head in, man. Like, it's a completely different game, but with the exact same mechanics, and it's so weird.
Yeah. Because
like all of my heuristics of how good a shot is for all these positions is so different, and all these outcomes and all this like etiquette is so strange to my way of thinking that these trial matches have been as much about me learning the strategy of high level bowls as it has been about seeing where my mechanical bowling is at, which is just insanity to me. But fun, lots and lots of fun.
Yeah.
Bit of an average one out that first week, and then this week we played an external trial against Westlakes. So if you want to rest your voice, I'll jump in with mine.
Yeah.
And then you can close us off. Sound good?
Yep.
So up against Westlakes, we were playing a game 18 ends at home. Now Westlakes, they have teams in Prem, Div 5 North and West. They won the flag in Div 5 West, which is the same div that I played in last year, and we were 1-1 against them. You know, they beat us at home, but then we beat them away, which was super weird. Normally you'd expect those results to be flipped, but we got them. It was fantastic. I remember in that potty episode when we were talking about that, I was like, this particular rink that we beat had not lost a game all season. And then I think they turned around and didn't lose another game for the rest of the season after getting beaten by us. You know, one of them was like, oh, I'm the highest ranked person in my position on Bowls Link or whatever. I'm like, one, what do you do with your life that you have enough time to give even the slightest modicum of a shit about that? Two, who fucking cares? It's so fucking funny. I was like, who are you to like carry on like this? We're playing Div 5 West. This isn't even your like this is your third team and the other team is also in Div 5. Like, fucking relax, brother. Very funny. So yeah, Div 5 North and West, and then a Div 7, which matched up really well with us as a club because we have teams in Prem, Div 2, Div 5, Div 6, and Div 7. Got a lot of players kicking around, having fun, bowling some bowls. Obviously, not everyone from all the clubs was available for the trials. I think we had a bit of an internal trial for about 8 or 10 people, and then, you know, Prem team played against Prem team, Div 2 played against, I think, their Prem reserves and their Div 5, and then so on. I didn't realize until researching this ep that they had such a gulf between their top side and their second side. That's really difficult as a club because if you're having a bad time in Premier League, you just get dropped straight down to Div 5 afterwards. Like that's a really hard one to keep continuity with your performance.
Yeah, that's...
I think Lockleys was the same. I think Lockleys had a Prem team and then like Div 4 was their next side down, which was just insanity to me. Like, you know, Grange, we have like some nice continuity between the teams. Like, you know, if you have a bad week in Prem, you can go to the Div 2 team. If you have a bad week in Div 2, you can go to the Div 5 team. And they're sort of analogous with each other. Obviously, the Div 2 players are going to be better than the Div 5 players, and the Prem's going to be better than the Div 2s, whatever. But yeah, no, that's an underrated issue in some bowls clubs where they have such a gulf between their top level of play and their like mid-level or their runner-up or whatever. You know, not to denigrate people, but everyone has like different ability levels, and, you know, having such a wide gap of skill levels, I think sort of pulls the ladder up on people sometimes. You know, obviously what happened to me at the end of last season, I think was just a geographic convenience because we happened to be at home at the same time as the Prem team and the Div 2 team was out at fucking 2Ls. And so, you know, I happened to be going well in Div 5. They needed a player for Prem. They just pulled the best lead out of Div 5 and went, fuck it, we'll see how we go. No, I fucking cringe describing myself as the best lead in Div 5 because I don't think I am, but I think I was playing really well at that time and that warranted, you know, a level of selection to a higher grade, maybe. Point being, the hole was there. I was geographically the closest. I filled the hole. We played. We won our rink but lost the game. And since then, I've kept having opportunities at that level that I otherwise probably wouldn't have because the Div 2 team would have filled as the intermediary between. And if you're in a different club where that's not like, you know, a geographical decision, it's a, well, they're the next best team sort of decision, that's a big jump to make, you know, merited or not. You know, it's a lot to deal with. But alas, we played with the Prem kids during the Westlakes trial. There were a few unavailables. You know, I was originally, as I said at the top of the show, going to be playing in the Div 2 side as a 3, but then a few names got shuffled around and I ended up playing lead in the Prems. Boy, did we get absolutely demolished, Jimster. You know, we avoided the pants in the second end, but then after that, we won 3 ends for the rest of the game. It was terrible. We just did not get anything the whole time. And, you know, there are lots of people who are responsible for that, myself included. I think I played at my level, but bearing in mind, I think that I am playing a slightly above my level with the Prems. And, you know, as long as I'm keeping that above momentum, you know, I'll keep playing around Prem, Div 2, whatever. In the case of other people in my team, I think some people had a bit of a bad day out. There were a few missed shots, a few conversions that didn't work super well. Bit of bad luck, of course. It happens in every bowls game. But then we played against probably their best side of the day. And I say that because we lost 427 and all the other rinks won. Our losing margin was so bad that we almost lost it single-handedly for the team, which is less than ideal, and I'm sure is sounding a lot of alarm bells in the minds of selectors going far out. how do we get to that level? But you know, we put the bowls down. We had a good day out. I say good day out. I had fun playing bowls with people that I was hanging out with. I was on the rink next to Ryan, and so we were just talking shit the whole time. He came up to me right before the game started. He was like, "Look, man, I've got to give you a heads up about something. When you're playing at this sort of level, the lead and the second are their own mini team, and the 3 and the skip are their own mini team. Unless they have something to say to you, don't speak to the 3 or the 4. And I was like, what the fuck do you mean, brother? This is just a silly little game. Like, we're just rolling some bloody oblate spheroids on grass, brother. And then I proceeded to understand immediately why that was the case. Because playing lead for Lukey's a really good mechanical bowler, and he can put down stuff really well. He's a similar sort of mind to me. I think he has like the same level of like bowls enthusiast thinking that I do, where I can stand on the green and look at it and go, the arc of my bowl will go in this way, and it's like a red trail that I can see on the green, and so I can then like apply that to the head itself. You know, if I hit it at this speed with this sort of angle, it's going to do these things. I think he thinks of it that way as well. He also had a bit of a rougher day out, and I think he was getting a bit upset. And so when he played a heavy shot and removed their shot bowl to the point that we then had shot, we were going to get like a 1 or a 2. I clapped it instinctively because he had converted a down position into an up position, a swing of 2 shots. That's fucking awesome. And he walked up to the end of the green and sidled up to me and went, I was aiming for the jack here. This is not a good result. And then we won the end. So, like, fuck if I know, brother. Like, it was a very interesting day out. That's for sure. You know, he was definitely the epitome of like, you know, this is the standard that we're supposed to play up to. And if we don't play up to that, it's bad, just straight up. You know, I don't necessarily agree with that entirely. You know, obviously I want to do the best I can, but like, you know, I don't necessarily agree with, this is a good result, but I'm not going to even internally celebrate it because it's not the best result it possibly could have been. Yeah. Like, you know, a B+ is still a passing grade. Hell, a fucking C is still a passing grade. Alas.
It's the idea that don't let perfect get in the way of good.
Yeah, man.
It's interesting you say that about like the segregation between 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, because our third was Jim Mack, and I don't think I stopped talking to him during the entire game.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, coming from fucking Div 5 level, where I am just, you've played with me, like, I just don't shut up. I'm just constantly fucking yapping on, carrying on, having fun, stirring people up, congratulating good shots, whatever. And then to come into this environment, he's going, yep, just don't say anything to him. Clap when the 3 claps, and if he has something to say to you, he'll say it. And I was just like, what the fuck is going on here? All right. But, you know, it is what it is. You know, I've had certain situations in my sporting past where certain members of certain teams, none of whom are going to fucking listen to this, and I don't know why I'm being coy like, protect their fucking reputations or whatever. This doesn't matter. This is fucking, like, teenager state water polo shit. But, like, you know, there were some players that would genuinely get offended if I tried to, like, hang out with them and talk to them because I was the goalkeeper. Right? Like, it's just fucking dumb shit. Like, it makes no sense in my head. Surely, if you are a team, you get along as a fucking team. But anyway. Yeah, so we got absolutely slaughtered. But as you are aware, Jim, I'm starting to grade my ends. So, you know, A through to F. A, B, C are all positive values. D, E, and F are negative values. And, you know, obviously we don't want negative values, but it means that we can have a bit more of an objective look back at how the ends went rather than just relying on, you know, the overall results-based analysis, which I think I fell into a lot last season. And so I'm trying to find a quantitative, data-driven way to actually assess in real time and then be able to, with hindsight, analyze the game more effectively. Yeah, so especially it helps a lot at lead. I don't know how this grading system would go in the context of playing 3 or skip, 2, I think it'd still be fine, but 3 or skip, I think would need a lot more nuance and qualifiers to it. And, I can see here very clearly that, I started the game pretty well on par. I was doing a lot of C's, a few D's and a B. And then the second half of the game, I sort of got a bit swingier. I had 2 F's in there, but that was sort of outweighed by a couple of B's. And I ended up with a net score of 0, which is fucking perfect. That's exactly what I wanted the model to return if I had an average game. I went out, I played my level of gameplay. I think I did it roughly to my level, and I returned a grade of exactly 0. That's fucking perfect. That is exactly a C. I'm so stoked about that. I wasn't above my level, I wasn't below my level, I was at it. And that's, obviously we need more data to see if the model works over the course of a season, and if it's more accurate, keeping going. But for early results, I think especially now that I'm not taking the average of the data set, but in fact the median, which I think is a better representation of it, median data of the day, C. Grade is a C, and that's fucking awesome. Yeah, I'm really hopeful that this system works over the course of the season. We'll have to review it mid-season and end of season. But yeah, dude, it works. It works.
Yeah.
That's really cool. I'm not a numbers guy. I'm not a data guy. I'm a fucking vibes guy mostly. But yeah, that's really, really cool. End result bad. I played average, which I'm happy with. I wanted to see what my regression to the mean was going to look like in the context of playing at this higher level. And at the higher level, there were certainly a couple of ends that I really didn't want to have part of my game. But overall, they were counteracted enough with decent enough ends that I'm overall happy with the result, even if it's not a barnstorming success. So yeah, that's, as a trial match, perfect. I have nothing more to say. We got spanked. On to you, Jim.
All right. So, honestly, I put some good stuff down. Again, it was another week of essentially learning to, what's the word? Sort of a bit of mental toughness to a point wherein I can sort of disconnect from end to end and compartmentalize. That was a good word that you used earlier, where, I put 1 or 2 down that were a bit wayward in this end. Okay, just lock in, look down the green, and just do what you need to do. I played second, which I found really interesting. First time dealing with a real scorecard, which was also interesting. Scored correctly, which is good.
That's a win. We love scoring correctly.
But yeah, again, the inconsistency showed, but I know it's going to come with practice and time. And I'm really interested to see how I go at socials this weekend, and then going into the second external trial, especially with a bit more weight off my shoulders and a bit more drive to sort of get into it. The game itself was very close. We kept sort of trading ends where, it was 7-8, and then it was 9-8, and then 12-9, and then around 13 to 15, it started to balloon out. And now I don't know whether that was fatigue or loss of concentration, because the bloke who played lead for us also, I believe this is his first pennant season as well. So he's coming into it a bit green. I'm coming into it a bit green. So I'm not sure whether that sort of played into that at the end there, but we ended up going down 22-11. But again, I'm really keen to get out on the green for some more to see if I can start getting that consistency and start getting that concentration down into especially the later parts of the game. I really enjoyed the format, for what it's worth. We talked about it a lot after the game, where we're talking about the changes to the conditions of play coming into the coming season, with I think 6 and 7 playing 18 ends with break, and then one of the guys on the opposition team said that he actually prefers playing without the break, because he finds that when he has the break, he either comes back way better or way worse in the second half. But then we were talking about like the economy of bowls clubs and the fact that the break affords the bowls clubs some money, and obviously we need to do it. But it's a really interesting chat to have, I feel.
Yeah, actually the merits of the mid game break are something that should be really examined. I'm sure it's gone. I know from personal experience. I've been playing pennant bowls for nearly 10 years now, but I've gone from it being a thing in every single division to it only being a thing in Div 1 and down, to only being a thing from Div 2 and down, to only being a thing from Div 3 and down, and then backing up and through and again. And, there's a lot of factors to consider about it. The fiscal one, absolutely. People need money going through the club coffers to make sure that they are able to keep the doors open. I obviously noticed that a lot of people don't go to the bar and instead get a coffee from the urn, which is free, instead of paying $2 for a soft drink. And that could be personal preference, no worries. I'm not having a go there at all. But, that's a thing that I do notice happen sometimes. But then also you have people who perhaps... the lunch especially also maybe turning a bit of a profit for the club. That's been a saga at Grange for a long time. With sandwiches, and then we had banh mi for a while, Jimster. We had banh mi for one season, and I loved it. I was so stoked.
I can imagine.
Everyone else though hated it. They were not happy. And then we went to cheese and crackers and an Audi cake, and now we're back to sandwiches this year. I've seen a lot of different versions of the mid-game break. I remember once we played up against an RSL team, and they had baked goods donated by the local Coles, and that was your lunch break. So you got to just carte blanche, grab, Vegemite scrolls and cinnamon donuts and whatever you wanted, just grab it and go.
How good.
That was fucking awesome. I like that. Get the Grange Coles onto that one. We had that. We had, I remember one... They were made wraps, but they were then cut up into slices or whatever. And I remember this in particular because I bit into one and there was mayo all through it. And a fun fact about me is I ate really bad mayo once from a McDonald's. I'm not allergic to anything, but that bad mayo has stuck in my brain to the point that if I know there's mayonnaise in a meal, I will not eat it. And I get vommy if I do end up eating some and find out there's mayo in it afterwards. Ignorance is bliss. It's purely a mental thing. I'll eat a handful of meals that I'm a solid 60 to 80% sure there's mayo in there, but if I don't know for sure, it's fine. And so I, being in a food techie area where I'm I know the food technology aspect of things, I know roughly what ingredients are going to be in certain foods. The food existing and being there, I'm I know almost certainly that is mayonnaise, but what if it's bechamel sauce? And I bite into it, it's obviously mayonnaise. I'm cool, can't eat it, sorry guys. And I look like a fucking asshole for biting into it and then it's discreetly spitting it out into a napkin and then just quietly pushing the other sandwich back to the middle. Yeah, that's fun one. Yes. Mid-game break is very important, I think, for club culture reasons. I think it's very important to get people talking and hanging out with each other because when you're out on the green, a lot of the time, there's a lot of carry-on, a lot of people just getting a bit antsy with each other. But when you're at a meal table, unless you're a certain bowls club that's a shithole on Anzac Highway, people hang out and talk with each other and get to know each other. It's a really social aspect of the game. And when you're dealing with people who perhaps... don't work full-time anymore, don't have, as much ability to do other things. This is, a working man's understanding of retirement. As I understand it, you have a lot more time for leisure and for family, but that may not be as social or broadly social as working was, or depending on your industry or whatever. And so, you have this opportunity to sit down, have a cup of tea and just have a chat. And, if your opponent's a wanker, you have a chat with your teammates. And if your opponent's a wanker and you're having a bad day, you go sit out on the green and just fucking watch TikTok on your phone. I don't know who would do that, but anyway. There's these different options that can be available to you. But I have personally experienced as well when I was playing down against Hallett Cove. This is with Bobby as my skip.
Yeah.
When he was a Div 5 skip. We're playing down at Hallett Cove. We kept them scoreless into the first half, went in for lunch, and then we lost on the last end.
Yeah.
And that's the closest to crying I've ever been at bowls. Like especially because it's a few years ago now, I was a bit more immature and, everyone has their own journey, lots of things to go on and learn from. I was still deep in the learning stage of a handful of things and, I did not take that one well and I had to drive people back afterwards and I was not a happy chappy. But anyway, not important. Yeah, like the break is contentious, but I think it serves a really good purpose, especially because it's like breaks at work, right? You may not need it right here, right now, but there are other people who do. And when the day comes that you need that 15 minutes break or whatever it is, be grateful that you've had it and you've protected it for when you've needed it so that other people could use it too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, that's some cool gear. I love bowls, man. It's such a cool game. And we're coming into the season hot and ready. Oh, fuck. I forgot to mention, because it sounds like it's an excuse, but it kind of is. I was playing injured on Saturday because I was teaching the cooking program at work. And I went to pull a big thing of steel wool out of the sink and it had caught on one of the plug chains and it fucking tore my finger open right at the knuckle.
Whoa.
So every time I bend it, it fucking hurt. It was all right for bowls, but when I was playing disc golf on the Sunday, that's where like the rim of the disc sits in your hand.
Yeah.
So every time I do a throw and it rips it, because a fun fact about disc golf, not to examine another one of my niche fucking nerdy hobbies, but when you play disc golf, you're putting so much torque on the disc that the inertia of it trying to leave your hand becomes too great for your grip strength, and it just forces itself out. So every single time I was throwing, and this is up to 4 times a hole, it's ripping at that fucking open saw. I was having a bad time out at the Salisbury course on Sunday, but we got there. I shot fucking terribly, but short game. Win, what's the saying? Drive for show, putt for dough.
Yeah.
And my putting was fucking on song. So with a healed finger next Sunday, hopefully I can just start putting them away. Be good. All right, Jimster, I love bowls, but I think it is time that we called upon 4-time world champion Ian Schuey Schuback in a segment we love to call Schuey's Wisdom.
So I've got the number up quite early in the book, this one. We've got 29.
29. Okay, so this is the segment where Jimster spins up a random number generator. Anyway, from 14 to 232, there's the pieces of the book that have a whole bunch of knowledge. And just like Stanley Kubrick said, every frame was a painting, every single page in this Schuey's Wisdom book is absolute golden knowledge. And Jimster, we have found ourselves on a page in the chapter Essential Attributes of Success. And what's more, we've got a Schuey's top tip at the very top of the page. What a winner. Good spin, Jimster. All right. If you're not prepared to allocate regular periods of time and effort to practice, or to learn how to train your mind by testing the fit of that competitive mask during practice, be content with your current performance and simply head out and enjoy the game. Ooh. Schuey's dropping bars.
Heat.
He's just, oh my goodness. The fucking, Word 2007 they typed this fella up in must have been smoking after that. God damn.
How good.
How good, Jimster. Thank you so much for joining me, Jim. It is genuinely such a pleasure to be able to just have a chat about the great game of lawn bowls with you. If people want to get in touch with us and get in on the fun, how can they do that?
Yeah, well, we have an email at parkitonpodcast@gmail.com. We got the Instagram as well. Through the email and the Instagram, you can send us the CC and drive prices for the pay-to-win index. We'll be coming in hot and heavy this year in a couple of weeks once we actually start doing some home and away stuff. Other than that, you can also do some rules questions and some fun stories, and we can either muse on your stories or go and research your questions on rules. Again, we should have mentioned this at the start. Sorry about not skipping last week. I went out and practiced, forgetting that it was Wednesday, and I think you ended up being a bit busy as well, Riley. But
Oh yeah, I had a yoga class.
Oh, yeah,
as
that
well.
was
I played
it.
golf with a fella that runs a yoga studio, and he's been going, "You should come out to do a class." I'm like, "Sure, I'll come out and do a class." And I went, and I stretched muscles that I didn't know I had. Honestly, it felt great. It was really fantastic. Issue being, it starts at 6 p.m. and it's now 5:57 local time as we're recording this.
Yeah.
So I don't think I'm making tonight's class.
yeah, well,
But that's all right.
yeah. So jury is still out on whether we'll do next week because it is just social bowls and the AFL Grand Final this weekend. So it might be worth skipping another week into the other external trial, then start doing it weekly once we start hitting into the home and away season. Again, Riley
Yeah.
did say that we are missing the first week as we will be in Melbourne. We
Very
might,
sadly. But it's for a good cause, so it's fine.
it is, but we could also possibly do some fun stuff in Melbourne with some friends or whatever, but we'll have to have a little think on that one. But yeah, I think that'll be the way that we go.
We can make a lot happen.
Yeah,
All right, Jimster. I think it's time we say goodbye.
I think so. Oh my god, so does Bicky.
Becky's ready for us to go as well, is he?
Yeah.
Good man. Yeah, no, Jilbs was just unhappy there or something. I don't know. Someone's walked past the driveway. I don't know. But yes, thank you so much for tuning into another wonderful episode of the Park It On podcast. Until next time, it's a goodbye from me.
And a goodbye from me.